Dude, this rookie we've been talking to for couple months now. Matter of fact, probably since you hopped on, we've been talking on and off and like a lot lately here. But Kyle Patrick, dude, thanks for coming out and chilling with us here in the battle wagon. What do you think?
Oh man, this it makes me I'm jealous, honestly.
It's pretty crazy setup, right? Got wires and stuff everywhere. Charles working the board.
The livability is ridiculous to me.
It's a major pain in the ass, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
So here we are. We just got done fishing Wheeler Lake, sixth tournament of the year, and you're sitting wearing points right now.
19th,
dude.
This one hurt me though.
Bro.
This one hurt me.
Is this your worst finish here?
No, this is actually tied with the St. John's. I have 2 70s this year.
Oh wow!
Other than that, I've had pretty good finishes.
Dude,
like
some would call 70s. I would almost call those bombs, and you're still in 19th. You have really good tournaments. 4 other good tournaments.
Yeah. I have an 18, a 9, a 20, and a 30.
Dude,
something.
That's super consistent.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with it.
What are you more surprised about, that you bombed to, or that you did very well in the other ones?
I'm not surprised about a bomb or two, because every year that I've fished, I always have 1 or 2 tournaments where I just didn't figure out the pattern. Like, that's why I'm so impressed with people that can have, like, never miss a check, because like, that's my goal. Like, I don't get crazy with my goals. I want to cut a check in every tournament. That was my goal. And for me, that's a legitimate goal that is, I don't like to go crazy with my goals, but like AOI, ROI, like, but I like to just try to stay steady and cast checks. But for some reason, there's always 1 or 2 tournaments a year that get me. Like last year in the Open, St. Lawrence River, 108th. Right?
You're from
New
York,
live
though.
2 hours south of there.
No, I live like 4 hours.
Okay.
And I rarely fish for smallmouth in New York. Like, I grew up a largemouth shallow guy. Grass, like, that's what I did. And I fished the St. Lawrence 3 times in my life.
Yeah. Wow, that's hard to believe.
I know. And I just never really loved smallmouth like a lot of guys do in New York. But I think that's helped me throughout the Opens. You don't see a lot of New York guys that find a ton of success, and I think it has to do with the fact that they focus on smallmouth so much. And like, as we all know, landing them may not be that easy, but I feel like it's a little bit easier to locate and catch smallmouth in New York than it is largemouth in the South or in general. So
no, there's a lot to be said about that, because all of especially the state of New York, but like, you take Seth Fighter aside, he's a smallmouth specialist, but actually where he's from, he does a lot of largemouth fishing too. But I can't name a single smallmouth specialist from the state of New York that has come down south and logged those 9ths and 18ths and 17ths, on a consistent basis down south. Because if you're a smallmouth specialist, that's all you're good at up there. Fishing open water, fishing a drop shot, finesse baits. But a largemouth guy like you, or Corey Johnston, or the shallow power guys like Seth Fighter, they crush it down south there.
And like, Canada is, like, everyone thinks smallmouth, but they have unbelievable largemouth fisheries too. And that's like, Cooper Gallant has fished largemouth a ton. Yeah, he's really good at smallmouth, but I think that's why he has so much success.
Shallow power guys, dude. That's the whole key. And like, when I grew up fishing, I mean, it was all like, KVD, and it's always power fishing fast. And having a good season and making the Classic every year. Did you fish the Classic this year?
Yeah. Finished 7th.
That's right. That's right.
I was stoked about that. It was really cool. But that's another one, like, a jig. I threw a jig and a power shot basically for largemouth. And that's my bread and butter. Like, I like power fishing, but also being able to, like, power fish in a specific area and not get too spread out. And that's what I felt like happened on Wheeler. Was I never really found one area. Like, a lot of guys use the flats as their area to concentrate on. I felt like when I get to running all over the place, especially in these tournaments, like, I just can't do that.
Speaking of, so like, we're in this weird kind of, I don't know why Bass did this. I mean, whatever. June, it's 95 degrees out. We have 2 tournaments in 3 weeks, which means we have a weird, awkward 1 week span where half the guys are like stuck in Alabama in 90-degree heat and like trying to figure out what to do, like myself, like you.
Yeah.
By the way, we're going to Gunnersville tomorrow.
He said
tomorrow,
sometime this week.
Sometime this week.
Yeah,
sometime this week.
But you did something today that not a lot of anglers do, like post tournament, go back out there and try to right the wrongs.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. I told Lee, my camera guy and like social media guy, he's really good. And I was out there and I was like, because I caught 7 pounds on day 2 and we had like no footage. And I was like, let's do a segment for the YouTube on like getting out here, not getting any waypoints and understanding how guys caught them, but not like getting the waypoint.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of anglers, what happens is they get a waypoint and then, they catch them, but like the process wasn't there. So you don't learn.
You don't understand.
You don't learn. You don't understand. So I was just like, I'm going to go out. I'm going to idle. I have a general idea of what everyone did, but, I didn't get a specific dot or a specific look. So I just went and found an area, graphed through it. And I had 18 pounds, of course, not on tournament day, but it just felt good to like, from the concept and the thought of what I needed to do to then put it into practice and capitalize. I felt good about that.
Of course, watching, because I was just as lost as you. I finished 51st, 1 ounce out of it. I mean, this was a weird tournament for me here this week, but going back out after watching Bass Live, again, like you said, you kind of knew general areas, like patterns.
Yeah.
But like the light bulb seemed like when you watch Bass Live and you watch the guys have success, the light bulb like halfway lights up. But then when you go back out there and then like apply it and catch 18 pounds, which is a sack, anywhere. Then the light bulb's fully on and you could use that for next time.
Yeah. It was cool. My travel partner, Wesley Gore, he top 10 and like smashed it.
Yeah.
But he's familiar with the style of fishing. Like I said, being from New York helps me in a lot of situations, but it also hurts me. And I'm not that good at just, graphing for hours and hours looking for a 20 fish school on a ledge. Like I've never done that. So I don't have that much confidence in that. So I just went out there and did it and it worked out. But this is a cool fishery. It's brutal when it's 95 out there, but I can see why people like it so much after going out today.
So you're pretty well spoken. I think that's why we kind of gravitate towards you. We're on the phone a lot, like very well spoken. Like what is your background? Like what skills have you developed like pre-professional angler in whatever profession? I don't know what you did before this, but like what kind of skills did you develop that help you?
Do you have
now?
A job between college and?
Yeah, so I had a couple, but I was kind of always trying to figure out what I wanted to do, right? I went to Hobart College for 4 years, played college soccer, was in a fraternity, like had the full college experience, right? Both academically and like fun.
Yeah.
And when I got out, and I had fished a lot, but soccer kind of took up the fall. But like all that experience of being in like a super social environment where I really needed to like,
network
talk to people, get up, present in a class, or, talk to my team when I'm a senior, right? Like all those skills I felt like I had, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
By the way, let me cut you off right there. Every time I text you, you never text back. You call back. Like, like in this day and age,
that.
no one does that.
I text her, and
I text the day after someone texts me.
I like to be in conversation because you can misunderstand text all the time. When you're just doing little things here and there, but I accumulate so many texts and then I just go through and call.
Wow.
But so when I got out of college, I was like, I want to be in the fishing industry. I didn't know if I wanted to pursue the professional angling side just because of, as both of you know, it's pretty brutal and cutthroat and sometimes leaves a bad taste in your mouth, although I would say more often than not does. Yeah. But so I worked at Douglas Rods. They're a sponsor of mine now. I did some sales with them. I would go into shops, talk with the owners of the shops, and do your whole sales. Yeah, it's sales. I went into sales, and then I kind of transitioned into I kind of want to fish the opens. And I had a really neat opportunity arise. A guy named Paul Pagnato, who Gerald,
I know that name.
Pagnato.
Yeah.
He used to fish the opens.
Yep.
Finance guy.
Yep. Very, network. He's very, he's been very successful to a crazy level.
From Virginia.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, he's moved a couple times, but yeah. And he took me under his wing, and he's like, he's a big believer in like mentorship.
Yeah.
So he introduced me to Gerald, to Chad Morgan Taylor, to a couple other John
Veterans,
Cruz.
yeah.
Yep. And I sort of just kind of learned the ropes of like professional bass fishing from a sponsorship side, the industry itself, and then like fishing. And he paid for me to fish all the opens as a a division as a pro, and marshal all the Elite Series events in a year. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take this opportunity. I kind of stepped away from Douglas and I just ran with it. And I was like, you know what? I think I might want to pursue this. And then I met a close buddy of mine now named Billy, and he ran a medical sales company. And I was like, I want to jump into the opens and do it, but I can't just
afford it.
Yeah, I can't just jump in and risk everything. And I didn't have it to begin with. And he was like, we'll work remote and we'll make it work so you can do both. So I started that. I did that for like 2.5 years as I kind of fished through the opens.
How many years did you fish the opens?
2, but 3 if you count the co-angling.
No, so 2 as a boater.
So 2 as a boater.
That's solid, dude. That's rock solid.
Yeah, and
how'd you do your first year?
10th in AOI overall, which was, I was like, dang, was
that just 3 at that time?
No, that was 9.
Nine.
Overall, all 9. Yeah.
Wow.
The Red River, I finished 189th.
It's a brutal place.
Yeah,
a brutal place.
That was,
like Shreveport.
that was a rough one for me, but that I needed to fail that year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the same principle as Wheeler this week. I needed to fail in order to have the understanding to go back out and be like, what did I do wrong? And then I learned like astronomically large amounts of, stuff that helped me for this.
Generally, you learn more in a failure than you do in something you immediately succeed at.
Yeah, I was telling Lee, like at this week, if day 2 I just fished stumps, I probably would have cut a check. Like I probably would have had 12, 13 pounds, had 26 pounds 2-day total and made it. And I wouldn't have gone back out. But I still wouldn't have known like the graphing, school, bite, whatever that is. So I'm almost happy I didn't like top 50 it, because this game is a long game, not a short game.
Right.
And I want to I don't want to fail too much, but I want to fail enough that I can learn, more and more and more and more.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty consistent with like the day-to-day tournament fishing. I always say like you're literally learn if you let the fish and patterning speak to you, but you literally learn more when you're not getting bites. It's that checklist, right? Like that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work, but you're learning. Like you're learning, okay, let's get that out of our head. Let's get that out. Let's get that out. Oh, there was a bite over there and there was a bite over here, so let's kind of combine that, put that together. But when you're just going out there and you have an awesome practice and you're like, oh, that spot and this pattern.
Yeah.
It seems like, to me, those are like the worst tournaments. But when you're not getting bit, and it just kind of sucks. You're like, okay, let's roll all that out and let's get after it. And
that's to a T how I won the Ozark Open there.
Yep.
Like I had few bites. I kind of had 2 or 3 general areas, some brush marked, some docks that I thought were good. And I just ran with it. And on day 1, I literally ran to a spot that I had 1 bite in, and I was actually on the phone with Joey Nania. He's a really good dude.
I've heard.
Nice.
Joey Nania is like
super
salt
nice.
of the earth. Yeah, and I had 2 hours left of practice, and I debated going in, and I'm like, I'm gonna check this one area. And I ran up there, and I'm on the phone with them, and I'm like, oh, I just got a bite, man. And I kind of like shook it off, and then I flipped in there to a dock, got another bite, set the hook. It was like a 3-pounder, and I'm like, dude, I just got 2 bites. That's more than like in one area. Like, blah, blah, blah. We started talking, and I'm like, I'm going to start here. And then I was leading after day one on that spot. Wow. And Joey's like, dude, I can't believe you're on the phone with me when you found that.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
crazy how that works.
Yeah.
Do you, your experience in the Opens for 2 years was, like, did you really enjoy it?
Yeah. In what sense? Like, because there's a lot of factors.
Sure. If someone came to you and said, I want to fish the Opens, but I don't have all my ducks in a row, but I think I'm going to hop in and do it.
No.
Would you encourage that?
Literally, yeah, no. I would have a hard time telling my kid. I don't have a kid, but if I had a kid or I had like a really close friend or like someone that was like, I genuinely want to do this, you would have to like sit down and like understand their finances and understand like their goals and like where they're at. Like there's so much that goes into figuring out if you can fish the Opens, especially in today's environment with the amount of people that are trying to make the elites and how cutthroat it is and all the stuff that goes on that you have to deal with. Like,
would you say it's harder to achieve a level of success at the Opens level than it is on the elite level?
I've debated back and forth a bunch
that's
on
brutal,
this.
Dude. Like when I qualified in 2011, there were some hammer sticks, no doubt. And when I finished first in points in 3 tournaments. I mean, gosh, catch them in 9 tournaments, dude. That is brutal.
It's incredibly challenging, and like the
200
problem
boat fields.
It's insane. And the argument is, so I always was like asked, like, is the elites, like, what's it like? Like, right? And so now that I've gone through 6 or 7 tournaments, including the Classic, I think the difference is that in the Opens, you have 100 guys that are really good, that all probably all at some point could make the Elite Series. Not necessarily that year, but there's 100 guys where you're like, you know, capable. At any time they could catch them. And then there's another 100 that are
fluff.
Yeah, they're not going to cut it. Probably ever.
Yeah.
But they have the funds or they have the sponsorship or whatever. Yeah. They're just out there, you know, doing their thing. And that's fine because we need that.
Sure.
But you have to worry about all of those people. Even though you really only need to worry about the 100, you still have to worry about people setting the hook, a lot of hook setting going on.
Burning through fish.
Yeah,
like
burning.
What if one of those guys started on that spot that you found what Joe, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, there's just so much. The weights, like, you don't have to catch them as good, but it's harder to catch them. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And the elites is like, you have to catch them better, but you don't have the factors against you that you have in the Opens. Like, if you're a really good fisherman and you find the fish and you do your job in the Elite Series, you're going to catch them.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to make a lot of cuts.
Yep.
But in the Opens, there's so many factors that it's not like a, you know, really good fisherman find fish equals success.
Yeah.
It's not like
So with you guys, y'all had an off limits, but when I fish, like, you could fish for 2 months up until the Open. And the amount of pressure that lakes would get, people burning through fish. You had the co-anglers who were bringing boats, then you had all the guys who were there for 2 months, and then actual practice. The patterns would be your seasonal patterns would be non-existent because the fish were so burnt through, like they were just doing crazy things.
Yeah. I mean, it was the same. It's sort of similar still. Like, that's why live scope plays such a big factor in the Opens, because you can't just run down a bank and catch them.
Ain't gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. No. Like, you have to, you know, like what I always did for success in the Opens was find one area and just milk it for all it was worth.
Chase them around.
Yeah, I would. Well, that, but also just, you know, like if I had a brush pile or 2 in like an area, I would consider that like my, you know, and there was a bunch of fish in it. Say there was 10 fish all around this brush. That would be my A spot. And then I would milk the A spot, and I'd have a B, C, and D all the way back to the ramp, like a milk run. And so, like, I would, you know, use the A spot as like the limit. So if I caught 5, I would leave.
Yeah.
And then I would go hit my secondary, and then, you know, so on and so forth until I could either cull up or I was done. And that's, for me, how it worked. Like, I would never fished in the Opens to win. That ever.
Yeah.
I never, ever wanted to win a tournament. And I got fortunate and did win one. But if you try to win them, you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. That's always how I've been too. Just be as consistent, as high up as possible. And like maybe that's why I never won one. But
well, no, but when the chips fall, like in the opens, like, you know, you make day 3, then you try to win. And same with the elites, right? Like you make day 3, then you kind of are getting there, and then yeah.
So let's switch gears. That's enough fishing talk for the Bilge podcast. That's a lot of fishing. It's about a month ago. We had Bill Lowen in that chair right there, and he talked about some observations he's made and then some things he's heard about. And, you know, talking about rookies and such. And Trait, she's texting right now.
Your sponsor.
Trait titled the Bill Lowen episode.
Wait, whoa. I don't need you to speak for me.
No. Stop.
Let me give this story.
No. Trait titled the Bill Lowen episode, "Rookies Are Playing in the Gray Area." And honest,
come on, Trait.
honest feelings. Honest
Trait,
feelings.
I'm upset with you.
Okay,
honest feelings.
Reverse.
On a scale from 1 to 10,
No.
how much offense did you take to that title?
I didn't. I really didn't.
Reverse.
Truly.
Let me tell you how I got
Can I just
to
say
that
one
point.
thing?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't take offense to the title, but I knew that title would probably bother people just because, you know, for a guy like, I don't know, any rookie
Logan.
that isn't playing, right? Like Logan, like he's looking at that going, that's 9 guys. Like, why am I involved?
Okay, so
right?
reverse. So let me give my side.
And one more thing. Sorry, I interrupted you again. I literally interrupted you again.
Do on this podcast.
Yeah. And there are a lot of, I got to be careful here. There are a lot of people that watch your podcast, that follow the industry and try to follow it as closely as they can and get all these little pieces of drama and like they eat it up.
Yeah.
Like there are these people, right?
Some crazy fans.
Like fans, yeah.
Take
And negative, positive, whatever, right? Those people are also the same people that don't know.
Don't understand what I was
know
saying.
at what they don't even know what you're talking about half the time. So to those people, they would look at that title. They maybe would watch like 10 minutes of the podcast. They wouldn't even watch the whole podcast. And then they would make their assumption, and all of a sudden, all the rookies are bad in their mind.
So let's reverse. So me and Charles are driving from South Carolina. We're about Charles, like 14 or 15 hours into the drive. I'm driving. He's got his laptop out. We're trying to meet the deadline to get this podcast up. Normally, I fill everything out. Charles does all the editing, the filming, and he does the thumbnail, but I do the finish out, the anything to do with trying to hit the algorithm on the other side. So I have to come up with the title. Been driving. We're 30 minutes. We're almost to Decatur, 30 minutes from Decatur. And brain's fried. And he's like, what are we titling this? And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, rookies, whatever I said, rookies are playing in the gray area, or whatever I say, right? But when I title something, most people don't understand YouTube titling, right? You want to be super concise. You don't want these fluff words. You don't want like the blah, 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 some blah, blah, blah. So when I said rookies, in my head, which is fried because I've been driving for 14, 15 hours, I was not saying in general all rookies. I was saying plural, not 1 rookie, not 2 rookies, 3 rookies. I'll say that. I was saying 3 rookies in my head, just being plural, rookies.
I understand.
Right?
Just more than one.
Not all rookies.
Right.
I didn't say all rookies. I didn't see the rookies. So in my head, I'm like, plural, not generalization, right? So then we continue. He starts getting phone calls.
Oh, I got blown up.
He's calling me. I'm like,
I love how Chris takes the heat.
No.
Trait.
I get the heat too. On social media with the fans, they're like, this bitch. So we're driving. Charles and me are both like, screw them. No, we're not changing it. Like, we're doubling down. Both of us are like, and then I'm starting to get a little stuff. I'm like, should I change it? And he's like, don't change it. Then I'm like, I'm not changing it. And it just kept going. And then Logan's video comes out and I'm like, guess I'm changing it.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
but the whole point of a YouTube title, right? One, being concise with the keywords and stuff, but it's also to get people to watch it.
Yeah, after all, this is all a business,
I
right?
mean,
we don't set this up for...
And so...
I didn't blame you.
Right.
That's not what I was... When I made my video, it was like pretty... It was like, I think it was the first video I was just like, I'm going to post this.
Yeah.
And I was like...
and I remember we talked before.
I called you and I said, I don't want you to take offense to my video.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at Bill. I'm not mad at Chris. I'm not mad at anything.
You just want to set the record straight for these people that do not understand that everyone's not implicated.
And I wanted to make sure that when they like watched my video, that they were going to go and watch the whole podcast and make their own decision based on what they're hearing and not just hearsay or, you know, like I wanted them to
clips,
like I didn't want just them to just make it, you know.
It's so hard, right? Like to talk about what's really going on in the industry and people are like, say names. And then you say names and they get pissed and they're like, you're trying to ruin that man's life. And you don't say names and they get pissed and they're like, you're a coward. And it's like, how do we talk about what legit? And do you, at the time when we talked about that, wouldn't you say that was an extremely hot topic behind the scenes with everyone?
What did what?
Rookies who had accumulated information in that gray area. Wouldn't you say that was a hot topic amongst the anglers?
Oh yeah, I mean that's been a hot topic,
and that's our goal with that's our whole goal with the Build podcast is to shed light on things and topics that normal Joe or not even Charles would like even have a clue like what was going on, But trust me, when we talk about stuff, the anglers are talking about it, like that's exactly what
we've accumulated enough receipts so we're comfortable to be like, let's just say it.
Yeah. And I'm
it's a weird place.
I've almost tried to just like I'm just tired of hearing about it, man. Like it affects my mental,
especially this week, right?
Oh,
the circumstances this week, tough bite, and some guys have waypoints from that legally were acquired. It's just like, dude, I'm out here grinding my ass in 95-degree heat, and I got 0 waypoints on this place. Like
and I'm just tired of like hearing about it. Like I just want
to, at this point.
And I just
like we just it happened. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm sure some people are not there,
right?
Because they're bothered that we call this a professional sport and everyone's on different playing fields.
Yeah.
It's not like they're on a golf course where hole 1's hole 1, hole 2 is hole 2, hole 3 is hole 3. Everyone's playing the same course.
Right.
Like we should be playing, these lakes should be like a course, right? And you can't put a, let's just say like for golf, right? You can't put a big screen over a sand trap before you tee off, right?
You can't protect yourself.
No, you can't just put like a tarp over the sand trap so your ball rolls over the sand trap, right? The course is the same for 100 guys or however many people. That's what people expect, especially at the elite level. So that's why people are really angry.
So, and I want us to move on from it for your sake, so this podcast isn't totally just obliterated in the comments. But would you say that you completely understand why there's so many people frustrated behind the scenes?
Absolutely. There are guys that have been doing this for how long did you say?
13 for
13
me,
years. Gerald's been doing it for
guys,
20 plus, Bill Lowen, I don't know how long he's been doing it, but all these guys and they're seeing not only the sport evolve in what, in my opinion, I think technology is a good thing, despite a lot of different, and I'm fine with saying that. There should be limits, sure, but I think that we're gonna evolve as a sport. But when you see the sport evolving in ways that are maybe shady or ways that you think it shouldn't be, not having to do with technology, but just rules, I could see how guys that have been in my place right now 20 years ago and have lived all through all the split, everything, they could be frustrated by that. I totally understand that.
There's always been drama in the sport of bass fishing since, the very first, blast off
Look,
shot was fired.
Men are dramatic. Y'all think women aren't dramatic. Y'all are so much more dramatic.
That's not true. But
did it surprise you when you got
true.
to the elite level, like how like high school childish things are?
No,
Isn't
and
it
then
crazy?
anglers
dude,
are
I was like,
pettiness.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, man.
It's
like,
nutty.
The open, I'll tell you what, the opens are not like that.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
I would say
really.
it's not really dramatic.
You want to know why?
It's just
You want to know why?
you're
I'm going to tell you
exhausted.
why. The opens are not like that because they don't have a full off limits like we do.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's why it's not
Yeah.
so dramatic because
You
what are you
you're
going to...
You're mad
Right.
about like so and so who comes in with all the primo info, but you can't do anything because it's legal and you know it.
Yeah, the rules are set
Yeah.
and there's not much like, so
There's no
what if he
gray
paid
area.
for X?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I guess he has the money and I don't.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no
Oop,
gray.
Right. Like, but here we have so many rules that are meant to make an even playing field, but you can kind of skirt around them.
Yep.
So that's where the problem lies. Like, I think the solution would be to actually have less rules
Yeah.
because then you
agree.
can
Yeah.
police it.
Yep.
Yes.
If you did a 30-day off limits, and if the elites had a
Right.
30-day off limits, it would solve a lot of things because or problems because they could say, oh no, you got information in the 30 days, you're DQ'd.
Right.
Period.
The most frustrating thing right now with Bassmaster is when they respond, it's not enforceable. So then why do we have the rule? If it's not enforceable, then do away with it.
Yeah.
You know?
I
It'll
agree.
go away
I
with it,
agree.
yeah.
But also in Bassmaster's defense, and first of all, I just want to point out to the audience here
Yeah.
that like people say like, oh, like you're bashing Bassmaster. I'm sure you guys get that heat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like I've never seen it that way.
We're
And I'll tell you
passionate.
why. You're here
Mhm.
and you're talking about it. And that means that you're like me, you care tremendously about the organization
Yes.
and you want to see positive change.
Yep.
And I think that's where people misunderstand. Like, I mean, we
Sure.
can, if this was MLF, we'd be like, it's a lost cause.
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's if we should cut that or not. Whatever. But I mean, it's true. Like I
Yeah.
don't care as much about MLF, and you can keep
Right.
this in. Like
Yeah.
I don't have a passion for MLF,
Right.
and that's just
You're
my
not
opinion.
pushing for changes
No.
over there, but when you're talking here about Bassmaster, it's because we all want it to be better.
Yeah,
Like we want
and
the
I
best
love
for
the guys at Bassmaster, the girls, the guys, everyone. Like they all are great, and I love. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm doing
Yeah.
this for a living.
So you've been around for half a year now. I mean, what is a like first step we could take into like rectifying some of these issues we're talking about? Meetings every other month. Go back to boat pairing meetings.
They used to have a meeting every week, every tournament. They used to meet
Pre-COVID,
every
yeah.
tournament until COVID.
Yeah,
I definitely
where little
think.
issues would be brought up. Things like
I'll tell you one thing. I definitely think that we could benefit from getting to like be in the same room.
yeah, town hall.
Yeah. Here's the deal. Like there are a lot of people in my class that I know and different, there's a lot of, I don't want to say cliques, but it almost is. There's like people that travel together. There's, Airbnb guys, there's camping guys, everyone's nice to each other, but we're kind of all away from each other.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
we get together, we launch, weigh in, whatever, you're in the back line, but there's no like,
Camaraderie.
yeah, like there is camaraderie, but it's not like we're not all in the same room. We don't
right.
get to know each other
Yeah.
as much unless you're out, like me, like I reach out to people, I talk to people, I want to hear people's opinions because I value everyone equally, right?
Yeah.
But some people don't have that, maybe social sort of butterfly mentality, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you're super social. I remember at the Classic, you came right up to me and stuck your hand out and said hi. And I remember because
I shook your hand because I just
Yeah.
wanted to introduce
Yeah.
myself. That was
Yeah.
it, right? And
Yeah.
I think, but there are people that don't do that.
No.
But I think if Bassmaster kind of forced that
Sure.
and we kind of all got to know each other, it might be different. We might think twice about, saying something on
Right.
live camera or, having a situation arises. We might deal with it differently if
Yeah.
like we knew that person. Maybe you could call them up and be like, dude, come on. Like, we kind of need to police each other, but not as much in a bashing way, as much as sort of be like, hey, dude, like,
man to
come
man.
on. Yeah, like this is the joke. Come on.
I think at least 2 meetings a year just to address, things, concerns or whatever would go a long way.
I think you'll need to go back to a meeting every
week. Yeah.
If at this point, now that I've hung around you guys like a little bit, right? If I heard something that Chris did and I thought it was sketchy,
you call him.
I would be like, hey, dude, just clear the air on this for me. Like, what's the deal with this, dude? Because if that's true, you need to do something about it. Like, you need to stop it or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure vice versa. I'm sure you would definitely call me out if I. So like that, but I would do it in not like a angry I would do it
more like a what's going on here.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be, because my actions reflect, your reputation, right?
Yeah.
Because we all wear that same badge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it should be.
And that's why I think a lot of people are mad at certain people,
yes,
right? Because it's not about, it is a little bit about they have a competitive advantage. That is a little bit. But I think a lot of it has to do with like, dude, this is our sport.
Lack of respect.
And lack of respect, but like more like, we want the sport to be more legitimized than it is.
Totally.
And it's not.
No.
Especially
it's going like this right now a little bit.
Especially with the shenanigans at MLF. Like, that's my biggest thing is this is not MLF. Like, this is supposed to be the League of Integrity where we do things different, where that's up here,
It's a standard.
Yes. Yeah. And so when all this little Bush League stuff is happening, it's like, dude, y'all are hurting the whole sport. You're not just, this isn't a competitive thing. This is a...
And like, I just so everyone's clear, like I think MLF has some positive sides to it.
Sure.
Like they're people are getting into bass fishing.
Right.
They have a lot of different leagues. Like, I'm not bashing MLF. I'm just in the beginning I said like, I don't care about MLF. That's just my opinion. Like, I just personally, I always followed Bassmaster, and there are other people that only followed MLF. But I agree in that the people that are passionate about Bassmaster want Bassmaster to prevail as an organization and like be the
standard.
The standard, and like what people look up to, and they think professional bass fishing, they think Bassmaster, they think the rules are enforced, like there's no kicking the golf ball out of the bush to get a better shot, like that's I'd compare everything to golf because it's so similar. If you really think about it,
individual sport.
Yep. Except the money. Yeah, the money's different.
So, like you were saying, you've been on tour for 6 months now. What are some of the things that that you've seen that you're like, wow, this is better than I expected? And are there any that you're like, dang it?
I think overall, like I'm very pleased with the coverage. Aside from one thing, but I won't go into that. But I think okay. Well, I'll tell you. I'll actually tell you because maybe the Bassmaster will listen.
Yeah.
All right. So the coverage is great. Like having Pat from Stray Cast do he's like kind of working with Bassmaster now. So he's doing some cool little segments with anglers.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I think they've upped their game.
Right?
I think they've upped their game, actually getting to know the angler a little bit more.
Yeah.
Especially, rookies or people that maybe aren't on FS1 all the time.
Yeah.
And so I've been pleased with that. I think that I've been pleased with the ability to call up pretty much anyone at Bassmaster and get a response. And so like I call up Lisa at any time and I'm like, hey, so, explain this rule to me or explain how this works with the classic or something like that. And they've been responsive. The only thing that I will say about the coverage is they need to figure out, and they've done a better job now. They have that camera at the weigh-in.
Oh yeah. Behind
the scenes. And that's cool. That's stuff like that needs to happen more.
Stuff,
Little stuff.
In 2024.
We have, my complaint was at the classic, I was in 11th going into the third day and I jumped up to 7th, but I had like a crazy good morning of catching bass and none of it got on.
Yeah.
None of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yes, part of me says, okay, I didn't make the top 10, so I don't get a camera. That's just how it is.
Can we be a little agile?
Yeah, right. Like, and I feel like, haven't they learned their lesson when Edwin Evers came back from like 20th place and won it?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there should be 1, 2, maybe 3 extra cameras floating around. So, okay, and I know they have, what's the guy's name that comes around with the camera? Oh God, I forget his name every time.
Maybe.
No, no, Robbie Floyd.
Oh yeah, Robbie.
So Robbie came and did some coverage, but like we need 3 boats at the Classic, or figure out a GoPro situation where they can be like, oh gosh, Chris just caught 2 5s and now he's in 3rd in the Classic, but he came from 15th. Let's go put a camera in his boat. Yeah. Because what happens if he catches 27 pounds and wins it? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, and Robbie Floyd is, great, and it's all good, but like, you're not in the boat with them, so it's not the same.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be my only complaint.
And I'm sure cost, production costs is an issue there.
True, right.
But honestly, going there, honestly, the only answer, the only solution is having live cameras in each and every boat.
So if you had a POV live streaming in every boat, like I am convinced that if they packaged it into a bundle, that the majority of anglers could have one of their sponsors who paid it, and you just put that logo on wherever, like the main logo.
Coverage, right?
But it's not.
I wonder what the cost would be on that.
It's not as expensive as they make it out to be.
You'd have to have like the web. You'd have to have like the website interface and everything.
But
that'd be the best thing ever.
Imagine
to be able
the
to click
amount
on your
of
name.
data you would get. You would know what angler most people are watching.
Yep.
You would know watch time. You know what it would do for him when I go into a meeting to sell him. Like the amount of
You're getting
data
sold by your
have.
wife
all the time.
I'm his pimp.
Sold in, sold out. Yeah.
But that's and like I said, I say that because I think they can leverage that. Like you're saying,
of course.
They're not. I feel like the Bassmaster Classic's the most watched event in professional fishing.
Yeah.
Right. I'm pretty sure. Like it has like. Everyone is watching in the fishing industry. So why don't we have a little more coverage going on?
Here's my thing about it, right? When you have that sort of data, that empowers your sales team to be able to do some crazy things.
Yeah.
And so they're looking at ammo. Yeah. They're looking at the front costs of it. I'm looking at the long term. Like I'm looking at, okay, take wherever you got to get that money out of your budget, put it there, go in the red a little bit, but in the long term, you're going to make so much more money.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's tons of things. Yeah. But hopefully we get there.
Yeah. So what's so just the coverage thing, that's really the only thing that
and then a few things with like I wish there was and this comes with time. Again, like a lot's changing, so I'm sure next year a lot of the rules will be amended, but I think there are rules that are in place that are in favor of people that want to break them and are not in the favor from an advantage standpoint of people that don't want to break them.
Yeah. Right.
Like when I read a rule, I'll just make one up like on the spot right now. Right. Like, or I'll give the example, right? Like, so you cannot intentionally receive information, solicit info, and we'll just use the opens for an example in a 30-day period, right? So if I'm in 15 days or 10 days and I call up and I'm like, or I have my buddy post on a public forum,
public domain,
and have it named hellokitty.com, and I just look it up and then I have all the waypoints. Like, we need to get to a place where that is illegal.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you write rules differently, though. That's the problem. Like, I can't, because I called Lisa about this. Yeah. I literally called her and had like a 30-minute conversation. And I'm like, so how does this work for you guys? Like, how do you adjust your rules based on what happens at a certain tournament? Like, for example, you have, Keith Poche, they've made a rule for him. I forget what it was. Do you remember?
I don't.
The winching rule?
No, it was, that might have been it.
Yeah, and he was winching.
And that wasn't a gray area. It just wasn't in the rules.
Yeah.
And they adjusted based on, anglers were like, well, that's not fair because of XYZ. Right. They didn't take anything away from him. They just adjusted the rule the next year. And there's many different rules.
Explain that to the viewers. So what people didn't no on the Red River. He won that tournament, right? I think
it was Toledo Bend, wasn't it?
No, not the rollers.
Oh, yeah,
but,
okay.
On the Red River, he had, from what I understand, and I'm pretty sure I understand it correctly, he had left ropes out. I think that was in pre-practice before official practice.
I thought this wasn't the Open. I thought this was like way back, like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
This was very recently.
Oh, was it? I was thinking of a different example, but go ahead.
In that Shreveport event, and he had a winch on his boat, and so he would just grab, while staying in his boat, he would be able to grab the rope that was tied to a tree or whatever it was connected to, and help pull himself in to a location. Yeah. And so technically, the way the rules were written, that was fine.
Yeah. And so,
but a normal, a lot of people would be like, okay, if I can't push myself in, how does that work?
Right. But that, in his defense, that was a intelligent, and there's two ways to look at it. One, he was playing the gray area. Two, that's kind of intelligent. The way I look at it, I think Bassmaster should have been clear, and the rules should have been written. Yeah, you can't push yourself in. You clearly, and then / you can't pull yourself in.
Yeah.
Right. But, so I asked her I asked her, like, how does this work? And she's like, if you have a suggestion in how we write the rules, please, like, we will take that and we will legitimately, like, figure out how to write the rule if you have a way.
Yeah, they do that every year.
And there's a phrase that me and Matt Pangrak talk about all the time, and it's called unfair competitive advantage. And if you are seeking an unfair competitive advantage, then it's
there's
illegal.
So much gray there too, though.
Yeah,
but if it's unfair.
No, who's the judge of that?
Yeah, his unfair is different than my unfair.
That's the problem. That's the exact issue they're dealing with now, is that you can't write a rule that has any question to it.
Yeah.
Because an unfair competitive advantage, well, that's defined by what?
Yeah.
Okay,
and then we don't have. Right.
So what about
yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm gonna stir the pot a little bit here.
Oh boy.
In the Open, we won't say names. You may or may not have seen a boat following a boat that was fishing the BFL and was going to win it. How would you define that?
It's a public waterway. You could
do whatever you want.
You could watch birds. You could follow a bird. You could follow a turtle.
That's
you could follow.
True. They changed it in y'all's because someone was doing that.
Did they? I
don't know either.
No. What's the rule?
Is there a rule change?
Zaldain, are you really going to play this good cop, bad cop? Because,
look, can I just say something to the viewers? I'm going to leave this to them. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't either.
Cayuga, when you had someone in your boat who told you that so-and-so had the juice, and then when it all played out, that person had been following someone around in a tournament and marking their waypoints, and that's how they had the juice.
So they changed the rule?
Yeah, but I don't remember how they changed it.
Yeah, I don't
But they changed it to something
I like the look she gives you when she's like,
here's the thing. No, because he's getting lit up in comments about his little good cop, bad cop ordeal, because sometimes he plays good cop when he really wants to be, deep down, he's the bad cop.
Deep down, I really want to be a cop. Like, I really want to be. I want to quit. Yeah, I want to quit this and I want to become a cop, dude.
Get on the ground.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Comment.
Right now.
No. But like those moments.
You gray area play.
Those, I don't know. And to me, if you can't enforce a rule, then if they can't write it right, then it needs to go away.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's the more rules, and we've learned, and I've learned over this past 6 months and the past 3 years, 4 years even, because remember, I was with John Cruz, Chad Morgan Taylor, Gerald when I hadn't even fished my first Open.
Yeah.
And so I was new to the total, like, everything about it. I was still that guy that just loved every day getting my Bassmaster magazine delivered, seeing Chris, like the fact that I'm sitting next to Chris right now is surreal still.
Yeah.
Right. I loved everything about it. And so I slowly, and I still do, but as you go through, you realize,
as you're in it,
right? You realize there are some faults, but with everything there is, right? But I think the more rule, like, it just seems like the only answer is
kind of like in America,
take away rules.
Yeah. Kind of like in America, we have so many laws and we have so many regulations, and we really need to deregulate.
I'm not good enough with that to speak on that, but You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like too much, though. It's too much oversight
Right.
that it's hurting a lot of the good guys more than helping them.
Right. And that's sort of what's happening now is like, if you have all these rules in place, I would say your average guy reads them and goes, okay, well, I can't call, you know,
The local at Murray and
I
asking
can't
about the herring spawn.
I can't call, let's just use my buddy, for example. I can't call Zach Guterman on the St. Lawrence River. He's a guide there. He's my friend. I talk to him, you know, somewhat regularly. And I always start off by being like, I don't want to hear anything about the St. Lawrence. And I literally all the time, he's like, I'm on Champlain fishing the New York Bass Federation. I'm like, cool. I don't want to hear where you are, where you're launching out of. Nothing. Like, and it stinks actually, because all my buddies in New York, that's what they're fishing, St. Lawrence and Champlain. And I can't talk to them.
No, you can't.
And that really, that's a bummer. But like, I can't call him up and say, hey, so on the Niagara River,
right?
Should I run to Lake Erie or should I stay in Niagara River?
Right.
Wink, wink.
Not even. He knows what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Hey, when I'm up competing on the Elite Series, if I were going to go to the Niagara River, should I go
stay in the river or go to the lake?
And like if I'm fishing the river and I'm throwing, and you can get super specific with this. This is what's ridiculous. I could be like, so when I'm drop shotting a flatworm on the Niagara River, should I be on the tops of the humps, the backs of the humps, the front of the humps, the sides, or should I take a minnow and go in 60 foot between the humps and catch those fish? Like, where are the biggest fish right now on the Niagara River?
That's
not against the rules.
Let's explain this, because a lot of viewers might not be picking up what you're putting down. And basically what I'm
not picking up. I'm not, hold on. I'm not picking up anything. I'm saying the way the rule is written, I can do that right now.
Yes.
And everyone knows that I'm talking about the St. Lawrence River. Everyone knows I'm on the Elite Series, who I'm talking to. Everyone knows that we're going to St. Lawrence. So I can call, and if I say the Niagara River, it's connected to Lake Erie, they know that I'm directly talking about the St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
And that's legal
And that's legal.
Yeah.
So that
or like this week, we could have asked any local about Gunnersville, and you may use that information to apply it to Wheeler.
So what they're saying is basically it's like a wink wink situation. Like, I'm going to ask you about the Niagara River, but really the person knows them well enough to know to answer it like it's the St. Lawrence, which is where he's going to be.
And this is all hypothetically.
This is not hypothetical though, because it actually happened at Lake Murray, and the person gets away with it because, like he said, he's not asking about Lake Murray. He's asking about the lake above it. How does a heron spawn work on the lake above it?
Okay.
Wink, wink.
But here's my take on this. That is legal.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad.
You're not mad. You're not mad at the person who did it.
I am slightly bothered.
When you look at that person, you're not like, you're a punk.
It's hard to say that because, look, I'm more upset that the rules and the officials allow that to happen. I'm really not mad at. I'm not angry at the individuals that do that on a daily basis. Because at the end of the day, it's not illegal. And I watched a podcast. It had to have been last year before I made it. Pangrack was on, and he kept being like, "That's not against the rules,
right?
Because that is black and white.
Right.
There are gray areas, but it's not really gray. It's gray areas to the people that think it's bad.
Yeah,
it's a gray area to people that
don't think it's bad to do that. Would you do that? Would you make that phone call?
No, but
why not? It's legal.
But because I know. That's a good question. Because
it's legal, so why don't you do it?
That's a good question.
Nothing's wrong with it, so do it. Your buddies are up there right now.
Because I personally, and this is a personal thing, find it. No.
Yes.
I read the rules and I made when I got my Elite Series book, and I read the rules at Toledo Bend, I made the decision of that's how the rule read, was that I can't get information or gain a competitive advantage getting information that helps me on any of the lakes that we're going to.
So the spirit
personally,
of the rule. Spirit
yeah,
of the rule.
so I made that personal decision. That's the problem with the rule is what I'm telling you. You can read that rule, and if you think, well, then I can just talk about a different lake, and if it helps me, it helps me. Then that's their decision.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with the rule is you have people interpreting it different ways. The rule in golf, if you hit your ball, it's a stroke. Period. No one can interpret that rule differently.
Right.
If the ball moves and you made any contact to anything around the ball or you hit the ball, it's a stroke.
So does the spirit of the rule not matter?
Clearly not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you want me to.
The way you interpret it is you don't do that, but you're also telling me
They allow interpretation for the rule, though. That's like the rule can be interpreted. In my opinion, the best rules are not. You can't interpret anything. You can't dive into it. It's just
it is
the
what
rule
it is. It's
is the
black
rule.
and white.
Right. Like if you are perfect, great rule that obviously can't really be interpreted any other way. If you don't have a kill switch on, you are violating the life jacket rule or whatever that rule of safety. I don't know what that falls under.
So I know for a fact that Bass looked into heavily about just doing away with the no information rule. So, you know, for example, it would just be a free for all. Like you could contact any guide or anything. Well, they looked into just getting rid of the information rule period where again, it's a free for all. And do you see that? I mean, if we were to go to something like that, do you see that being an issue?
I don't. Here's the problem, and I just thought of something before I answer that question. The reason I don't do that is because the fishing industry is so small, and I know
get around.
There's two reasons. One, I personally interpreted the rule that I couldn't do that, but two, I want to, like I said in the beginning, have a long-term career in the industry, and I don't want any negativity or any anger towards me by any angler, because at some point I might need to say, hey, Chris, do you think that you could help me with X, Y, or Z, whether it's a sponsorship or whether it's, hey, can I stay at your place or whatever it is? Like I need to have those connections, and I don't. I'm going to interpret the rule to the maximum so that no one says, oh, well, that's kind of sketchy.
Yeah, but so what you're admitting though is it's sketchy to do it. Like I get what you're saying, but in saying that you wouldn't do it, you're saying that because you know it's wrong.
I personally,
I get what you're saying, but you're saying I don't want anyone to look at me negative, like my long term. It's because it's wrong. I'm just saying. Look, me and Matt Pangrek had this same conversation.
It's wrong in your
and yours
opinion.
It's wrong in your opinion.
So
too.
what? That doesn't mean that it's illegal.
All right, you know
what I'm saying?
I understand. Me and Pangrek. I mean, I'm going to get roasted for this feeling, but I'm just saying.
Like, it's not illegal.
Some of it. I don't know. I still think that the whole Murray situation. I think it was illegal, and I think that they need to grow a pair. 1,000%.
But it's not illegal. It's not illegal in the rules.
That's what I'm trying to.
If you think it's illegal, there you go. Rant about it online. I mean, that's all you can do, right? Unless that rule is changed. I think that the
spirit of the rule is that you cannot.
Now we're getting into spirits like that. We can't.
That's the thing. They do that in the courtroom. If you are trying to seek information about Lake Murray, and you know full and well you are trying to seek information that helps you on Lake Murray.
I mean, look. Can I just say that in golf, this happens. People will make minor adjustments to their clubs, or so that, you know, they have regulations on, like, for example, like putters have to be a certain degree.
Right. Sure.
And
just
so
like
people will make NASCAR is a great example too. Like they will push the limits.
Yeah, totally.
Always.
And that's what's happening now.
Yeah.
Either the rule needs to change, whether it's taken away, 30 days, whatever. Otherwise, you don't really have a leg to stand on. Like, you can't say, I mean, I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
But
do you feel like, though, there are, because people get mad at me because they think I'm just bringing up gray area things, but I would say there are actually things going on that are also illegal. Do you feel like there are things going on that are illegal right now?
I mean, sure. I think there's always things that are going on that are illegal in any sport, any league. Like it's just bound to happen. There's 100 and I don't know, 103, 102. 100.
No, y'all have like 99 now.
Okay, 99.
Dropped, yeah.
Okay.
A few of them are desperate. I don't know who, but it's always how it is. A few of them are desperate to do well financially, whatever.
There's always that going on. I don't
like having to police each other?
I'd prefer not to.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's not your job. Your job is to catch fish.
But I actually really don't. I think it puts you in a really uncomfortable situation. Like, I'm going to do it. Like, if I saw you running down the lake without your life jacket on, I would pull you over or see you at weigh-in and be like, hey, dude, you had no life jacket. You got to talk to Lisa.
But you're not going to go around with a set of binoculars that guy didn't have his kill switch. Whatever.
I'm trying to catch a bass to make, $10,000 or whatever. Like, I don't have time to be fishing and then look up every time someone runs by me and like police it.
Do you think there's a way to fix that though, where it's not so much on y'all's shoulders?
I think that
because they need to.
I think that Bassmaster could benefit from, if they're going to keep a bunch of rules and keep adding rules, they need to have, honestly, either an outside party or an inside. Like, because a lot of times I think people don't want to be the bad guy. And I think they need to have some sort of either committee. And I don't know if it can be the anglers. That's the problem. Like, because then you have outside interest. Like, if I'm in second in AOI, Jordan Lee's in third, and Chris is in fourth.
Yeah, we want to bless whoever's ahead of us.
And Gerald's in first. It's not like it's going to be unbiased.
Yeah.
So there needs to, they could benefit from an outside agency, or I don't know how it would work, that reads the rules and maybe asks questions about the rules to try to change it, and then polices them for bass. Like, I don't know how much it would cost to, like, I mean, there are people that have, like, their GoPros die throughout the day, and that happens, but like, everyone should.
That's why having a POV camera in every boat that's live streaming is of so much value.
Yes.
Because also that not just the GPS coordinates, but that live stream allows them to police you guys.
Yeah.
You're
right.
And my problem with their rules of them expecting the policing and y'all to bring the evidence and stuff is they are literally pitting all of y'all against each other.
Right.
Like, they're contributing, in my opinion, to some of the animosity that's going on, because they're shouldering that responsibility on you guys.
Yeah, that's possible.
You have a referee, right? In a basketball game, the ref is the one who's calling the fouls.
Well,
right?
The great example is like in golf, like, even the players sometimes don't know that they violated a rule. A lot of times, right? You see like the official come out like after they're done putting, and they're like, hey, we just, because they have cameras on them all the time. They're like, hey, we just reviewed your bunker shot. On your practice swing, you hit the sand and it moved your ball, so you're gonna have to incur a 1-stroke penalty.
Right.
Like that type of stuff could really help, but I just don't know how much that seems like a lot of money for Bassmaster to invest, but maybe it helps something. I don't know. If they use that to also, with what you were saying, collect data, but also police, like
multiple reasons to have that camera. There's just got to be a better way than the system you guys have now.
It all sounds great on a whiteboard, but actually executing this stuff takes a lot. There's a lot of moving parts.
You're professional league. I don't want to hear that.
I understand. I completely understand. I understand.
Yeah, I think I'm curious to see where it's at in 10 years as far as rules go.
Yeah.
Or 5 years or even 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot that can be worked on. I don't know if the answer, I've heard from people that I really respect, that have been here for years and years and years, say that they think the best option would be to regress and take away rules.
Yeah.
But I've also heard people say, well, no, we need to have a committee that decides, or, there's so many different opinions that it's hard to really, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's
what
all.
What are your thoughts?
That's all good insight. I can't speak without asking her first. Can I?
Really? You're gonna give all those people
a joke.
that
I want to switch gears.
Like fuel.
I'm kidding. I want to switch gears here. Our next tournament is at Smith, right? You guys have 0 spotted bass up in New York. Right? 0.
Yeah.
I never really thought about that, because we have them in Northern California. It's super cold up there, but
I think the closest place that I can go to catch a spotted bass is probably Virginia.
Virginia, yeah. Yep.
I don't.
What's that, Smith Mountain Lake? Do they have big spots?
Yeah, they've got spotted bass.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have big spots.
Not big ones, though.
Maybe they do.
Have you been to Lanier or any of like the spotted bass
I've been
factories?
to Hartwell a bunch. I treat them similarly to smallmouth.
Yeah.
They're pretty aggressive.
Yep.
They kind of school
Nomadic,
up. Like,
clear water, big open water.
Yeah. I'm sure live scope, forward-facing sonar will play a lot. And no, that'll be interesting. That's another one where it's nice to have Wesley, my travel partner.
Yeah.
He knows a lot about.
He's from Bama.
Yeah,
that's
he
good.
knows there.
Good to
And I just like clear water fishing in general.
Yeah.
I might chase some largemouth. I'm not sure.
And like in your mind, are you like, okay, once we survive this, we are freaking solid, good to go because the last 2 tournaments are in New York?
Never.
Yeah.
I literally have never thought that way.
Wow.
Especially in the opens, like nationally, and especially on the elites, like all these guys, like it's hard to say that you have an advantage. And I especially don't, being that I don't like live on the St. Lawrence and Champlain, but everyone's so good that it's hard. It's hard to have an advantage anymore.
Isn't it amazing how like out of 99 guys, like 60% of them like know what the deal should be? Like it's
Every
just
time.
crazy, and a lot of that's just experience, networking. Like if you don't know what's going on in the state of Alabama, you know your roommate will know, and you guys will chat about it, which is obviously completely legal and a great tactic to do well.
Yeah,
but it's just amazing how everyone knows, like, oh, you know, the crankbait that they're supposed to be biting, you know, whatever it is, and it's gonna be no different at Smith.
No, it's gonna be no different. And yeah, no, it's.
These guys are good.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I don't feel like I have an advantage. Like, look, like I fished in an open. I fished Oneida, which I think I have an advantage there.
Yeah,
a slight advantage.
Yeah,
because I know and I would say I would have a slight advantage on Champlain if largemouth would play.
Right.
But I can see it playing for a day. But like
the brownies are taking
over.
Yeah.
But like I win Ozarks. Of all lakes, like, you know what I mean?
Least
like anyone can win anywhere.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy.
Is Ozarks like a high reservoir?
Is it like a table rock?
It's like a table rock. Yeah.
So I can kind of see a smallmouth guy playing there now.
Rocks. I mean, you're fishing rocks.
Yeah, I was fishing rocks, docks, a bunch of docks.
Right?
Yeah, and like the jig plays there a lot, and I love the jig.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just haven't felt like really comfortable on any of the lakes we've been to in the past 3 years. Bassmaster, like it's not like I've been like, oh, like I can relax and not worry about this one. Like I'm worried about every tournament.
Yeah, like
just as much as I was worried about Wheeler, I'll be worried about Smith. I'll be worried about Champlain. I'll be worried about St. Lawrence equally.
Yeah,
the one time I relax is when if I could like top 50. Mm-hmm. Smith and then Champlain, I would feel relaxed about the St. Lawrence because I probably would be in the Classic at that point. Close at least.
Yeah.
Depending on like if 40th and 40th.
When you looked at the schedule, what was the one you circled as yay, and what one were you like
Wheeler.
Yeah.
As
Smith. Yeah. St. Lawrence.
Really?
St. Lawrence.
Yeah.
Where'd you finish there in the
110?
Bro,
last year.
I thought they're easy to find, smallmouth.
They're not easy. I can't land smallmouth. It's bad. I had to figure something out. It's about smallmouth, and like I haven't gotten like confident and comfortable fishing for smallmouth like a lot of the guys have. Like I said, I fished largemouth up there.
Yeah,
it's like some of the best largemouth fishing in the country.
You use a spinning rod a lot.
Yeah,
and light line.
Yeah, no, not light line.
Like 12 pound.
Yeah, 12, 10, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't use like 6.
Yeah, you need that up there. The first year I went to the St. Lawrence, I used 6. Like,
solely. You'll snap off.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, if you just get even close to those muscles, you're done. Yeah. You do get more bites. I mean, like 8, I'll drop down to 8, and you do get a lot of, and Corey and Chris say that all the time too. I mean, I don't know if I should be saying that, but yeah, they use a lot of 8 down there. They're just a little more careful. But they say that area gets so much pressure now that they got to.
Yeah, I just don't feel like I have an advantage, really.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It's kind of good, though, dude. Just keep it fresh.
Because that way I feel like I have to always...
You're not complacent.
Not complacent,
really
ever. And that's, That's why the Opens, I think, worked out. Like I was always like desperate to find more and more, and never felt like I like had good stuff. That's the other thing. I think people a lot of times, and it's the downfall of a lot of tournament fishermen, in my opinion, is like they'll get a bite or two, and then maybe they'll go to another area and get a bite or two, and then in their head, they convince themselves that they're on more than they actually are.
Yeah.
And so they lay off a little bit more in practice. And then they come tournament time and they get one bite in the spot that they, in their head, predicted they were going to get 10 or 15.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh my God, what do I do now?
Yeah. I've been there.
And I've been there too.
Yep.
And I've been there too. Like here.
You always have to stay on the gas, dude, with this group. I mean, always have to. If you have like 2 awesome spots, oh, dude, this is going to carry me to top 10. You need more.
Yeah, you
always
need
more.
more.
Would you be open to Bassmaster doing like a 3 tournament swing out west? Why?
Too far.
30 hours.
Yeah.
Of driving for me.
Yeah, that's the biggest.
And
complaint. That's the biggest complaint.
And realistically, like, you know what? I'd be okay if they did one back to back. Like, I mean, back to back.
Yeah.
Don't give me a week in between.
Delta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like if they were to do it, I would be like, all right, like, you know, it's my job at this point.
Yeah.
Like, if I needed to be down there for 2 weeks, I would probably bang out the drive in 2 days. I would go. I'm crazy like that.
Yeah.
What if? Here's my suggestion. What if they did one in California, Clear Lake, whatever, then went to Havasu, and then had a week off? But the 3rd tournament was at Mead in Vegas. So you could like hang out in Vegas during that.
That would be,
that
would kind of be cool because then I could bring, Caroline down.
So you have like an excuse, like you have something to do during
I mean,
off, instead of being stuck there in
my Lee back there is going, yeah, he's a poker player.
Yeah. That would be cool, but the chilling in between time
that doesn't happen.
Is that far down on the priority list when they're considering lakes and venues.
I'm just saying, like, it would make sense,
It'd be cool if we could all do a peacock tournament too and go to Brazil.
That would be cool.
Okay, well, no duh, they're not going to do that. I mean, golly.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking logistically, like if you do a 3 tournament swing, so it makes sense because you're out there, and then you throw it in where you're in a place where cheap plane tickets, if someone wanted to come out and hang out with you, like, a touristy more spot, and then they're giving us a week off in dadgum Athens, Alabama. I'd rather be in Las Vegas for the week off.
Of course.
Yeah.
I
would.
How about sponsorship wise? Anything surprising when you're getting after sponsors in the off season? No, I mean, maintaining what you got.
Yeah, maintaining, growing enough where I feel comfortable.
I see you hired Lee. Lee's back there. I mean, that's a huge step.
It's helpful.
Oh yeah,
it's really helpful. It's no offense to Lee, but it's stressful.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It's really expensive.
It's
stressful. But it pays off.
Yeah,
it has to pay off in the long run.
Yeah,
and I always try to remember that. And we talk about it a lot. Like, it's worth it. I didn't do a good enough job because. So after the Harris chain, it was like late October. I didn't know I was making the elites. I didn't think I was making the elites after the tournament ended because I finished 70th. And I was like, oh gosh, but I ended up making it by 30 points.
Wow.
Yeah, that one was interesting. And so it was like, okay, I had like a day or two. I settled down and I was like, all right, so I need to I was already pretty good. I knew that I had 2 or 3 sponsors that were going to step up like double.
Yeah.
And I was like, so at the very least, I'll have that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sort of built off that, but we only had 2 months before deposits.
It's crazy, dude. Yeah.
Right? Like,
not
even like, so I'm like, okay, like trying to, like, what do I do here? Like, I think it's important that I have someone travel with me and document some stuff and like help me with social and like,
when going to a new sponsor, what do you feel like is the most valuable thing you could bring to the table?
So that's the funny thing. Like, I had a lot of the sponsors I have now, I've built a relationship with for a long time.
Yep.
But like for me, what was new was, and still is new, is asking a sponsor for money before providing value. Like I've always been like for Douglas, like I started a tournament series. Like I've sold rods, like actually sold rods.
You have physical value.
And then I'll be like, hey, I'm fishing the opens.
Yep.
You know, I'll and then like Powerhouse, the battery company, lithium battery company. I was their service trailer. I called them up and I'm like, I will sell your batteries and I'll be the service trailer for all the opens. I'll carry all your stuff. I opened up a bunch of dealers. I got a bunch of sales, and then
that's valuable,
I asked,
dude. Yeah.
and then so when I made the elites, like, you know, I have some new sponsors that I'm thrilled to be working with, but like it was hard for me to be like, oh well, this is what I can give you because I hadn't done anything
established
yet. Right.
Yeah.
But now I think with my social doing well, and you know, we've got some cool videos people are really liking on YouTube, I feel like I'm a little more comfortable going to a sponsor and saying, look, like this is what. Look at the numbers. This is what
how
I can.
Active you are,
and like also, huge. I always am saying, tell me what you need.
Yeah.
Anything. My sponsor, like, you know, I have like 2 or 3 like just product deals right now because I didn't have a company.
Normal.
Right.
It's very normal.
Standard, dude. Yep. Standard.
Absolutely. Which I didn't have a company, and I was like, you know what? I like their products. I'm gonna use them. Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was fine with that because I knew that. I eventually will 100% turn that into, you know, money at some point.
And that's how it works. Yeah.
And like I just, even then I called them up. I'm like, please let me know. Like if you need media, if you need anything specific, tell me, I'll do it.
Right.
Like I need you to tell me what you need me to do, and get it done. And then,
do you have your name on the side of your boat?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Like big?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relatively big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is just staying constant communication, like with your sponsors, and saying, like, you know, checking in, even if it's just like a phone call where you're BSing. Like,
dude,
that stuff matters.
And
like,
you're a social guy, and I'm not so much. You know, so that's why, like, I couldn't do it without her.
His
like,
sponsors call me. They don't even call him. Like,
well, it works.
They
but it
know
works.
exactly.
But
I couldn't do it.
Like to each their own.
Yeah.
To each their own. Like
exactly.
It works.
Yeah.
It's
and
so
that's
important.
the point. Is you find a way to make it. Like find a way to make that work.
Yeah.
Even his old sponsors call me.
Yeah.
To this day, I'm like, and look at him over there because he loves it because he doesn't have to talk.
Well,
you know.
Yeah. I mean, I work hard in a lot of areas, but that one, you know, that area is.
I'm not really the most social person. I really don't like people.
But you're very business minded, and that's huge.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, if you put yourself out there and you like anything, if I ever get like an invite for a pro day, an invite to a conference, I'm always there.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
what
always.
That's kind of what
even if it stinks.
Yeah.
Even if I really don't want to go.
Yeah.
Like I used to like get really excited about that stuff when I like was in
when
the opens. Like I was like, oh, when I cast. like but now I'm like, don't want to leave my I don't want to leave New York in July, but I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the thing about that. I think I was having the conversation with Lee at the golf place last night about this, but you want your sponsor, like you said, like you don't really want to do it, but you want them to know that they can count on you.
Yeah.
Because then when something does open up and they look at a set of names, it's going to be the person they can know they can count on that gets the promotion because they're going to want to continue to count on you. Right.
Of course.
Exactly. Like whatever anyone needs, I'm there. And if I can be that guy and then also have a good social media and also catch them and stay up there in AOY every year, like make classics.
Now
like that's my goal.
Now you're talking.
Like my goal is classics every year. And then if I'm making classics every year, that means I'm making cuts every year.
Yep.
Which means should top 10 one maybe every year or whatever. You know, that's how I make a goal that's very attainable. And then like as it works out, it you know,
everything works
out. Yeah.
That's
like, because if I make a classic, that means I have to have a decent enough season to stay relevant.
Yep.
And then also I have the classic as ammunition.
Yep. While working on your social in between.
And going to every event. And it's just the hardest worker. I mean, look, KVD was a hard worker.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I didn't know him personally, but everyone I've talked to, no matter whether it's a media guy, a sponsor.
And he drives himself everywhere too. People don't realize that.
So when I ask you what the most valuable asset is to bring to the table when you're going to a sponsor, you just said it right there. I mean, that is it. Like, that is, in my opinion, I mean, that's the formula right there.
Right.
It's a little bit of everything.
Can I pause right quick?
Well,
no. The dogs, are they okay? Lee's been checking on.
Yeah, I had Lee taking care of it. It's 95 degrees out. We got the AC ripping on the dogs, but
I just thought about that because I'm sweating in here.
I am also sweating.
Yeah, so,
I guarantee
you just got off the water.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, you said a lot, dude. And like I said at the start of the show, we really like you, and hopefully after sitting down talking with you, Trait challenging you on some questions.
Look,
the audience will see what we see in you.
Just because
awesome.
we challenge each other, because the audience has this twisted, doesn't mean we hate each other. A lot of people think me and Matt hate each other, Pangrak. We talk like every day. I hate to break it to you, but me and Matt are very good friends, and we still bicker all the time, every day. But it doesn't mean we hate each other. We can disagree, but it doesn't mean like there's ill feelings there. So just want to say that.
Kyle, in closing, we got to ask you, man, whether it's a aspiring young angler, aspiring young soccer player that wants to be the next who are the two hot shots in soccer?
You just got to do Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo.
Those two guys.
Those two.
So if maybe one of those aspiring young soccer football players are watching, what's some basic life advice you could give to us as we leave?
Oh man, it's a good question. I think my biggest thing, or one of my biggest things, is like there are times when I was in the opens, when I was, at ICAST, when I'm on the elites, even 3 days ago, where like mentally you question yourself.
Yeah.
Like, am I good enough, or am I, smart enough, or whatever it is that you're, and I think that it's really hard, and I sometimes struggle with it. You have to like change your mindset and get through that, because I think that's what kills a lot of people from accomplishing, whether it's the Elite Series or moving on to that next level in pro sports or whatever they're trying to do, is like they'll have too many of those moments and they don't ever get over it to where they're not having questioning moments.
Yeah.
Because that's where you grow the most, is like when you realize like I'm thinking negatively right now. I need to like transition and think positively and like get better, rather than like sulk and because if you're sulking constantly, like I did it. I did it at Wheeler.
Yeah.
I literally just did it for 3 days out on the water. I was just like, man, like I can't find them, and I didn't. And I think a lot of it was because of that.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you can just mentally try to like punch through it, exactly. That I think you'll accomplish a lot more than if you hadn't, because 90% of fishing is mental, but like, at least 50% of everything in life is business, mentality,
sports, whatever.
It's mentality.
Yep. It really
it's crazy. Our brains,
like what KVD always says,
like the confidence thing, it's huge. So
all about the attitude.
Just try to punch through that. That would be
I got another question before we wrap it up. For the people who end up being the next rookie class, give them just a little advice.
That's a good question or comment. I think the respect thing is a big deal. Like, I think it's just like on a soccer team, in a fraternity, any new guy, if you're new to the crowd, there's a level of like, who's this guy, that everyone's going to just question, like, who is this guy? Like, what's he about? Right. Like, not in a negative way, but
right.
I think having being respectful of everyone who's before you, and kind of not earning your respect, but like having a sense of like humbleness and like respect to your elders is what I've always.
Yeah.
I feel like that gains you respect in the long run. Like not coming in like cocky and like I run this like this is easy type deal.
Yeah.
Even if you think that it's easy, like there are going to be people that come into the elites in the next 5 years that are probably better than like 70% of us.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you don't act like you're not, act like you're not.
Yeah.
Because if you act like you're not and you are, it's like Polinick. Polinick's the perfect example.
Yeah.
He has respect for absolutely everybody, and he's got to be one of the best fishermen in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he still has that, you know, approachability. Yep. And always is respectful and you know, able to talk to anyone, learn from anyone. Like that's the type of attitude you have to have, or else you're going to get hate and you're not going to be like,
you will start out on the wrong foot. Definitely.
I shouldn't say hate,
but just like you said, it's the long term. Like you gotta think that way.
Yeah. Like, 100% agree.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff, Kyle. Like I said, hopefully, everyone watching and listening, you know, came to the same conclusion about your character, about your approach, and we really appreciate you coming on, dude. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Go to Gunnersville.
Yeah.
We out.
Down.
Great job.